Welcome to IFERP, a forum where innovations and research interest could be supported and developed, prioritizing our mutual interest. In this video, we want you to dive into our world, giving yourself a clear insight into IFERP. But first, who are we and what do we do? Institute for Engineering Research and Publication, IFERP for short, is one of the world's largest non-profitable professional associations operating under the Techno-Elite Research and Development Association, TRADA, meant for research and development in the field of engineering, science and technology. We are one of the largest professional bodies for engineering professionals in India and across the globe, established in 2014. We extend to every part of the globe with more than 28,000 professional members and 34,000 student members. Our growing membership at IFERP has led to an increase in members from Europe, Asia, Australia, Africa and the USA, fostering networking opportunities that strengthen ties within and across countries and technical communities. The mission of IFERP is to connect professionals at an integrated platform for growth to divert knowledge and skills towards the sustainable application of professional education and more. And our vision of digitalizing innovation processes through our professional networking services and more has pushed us forward to our achievements today. With our mission to make our academic services reach the top and grassroots level of institutions, we are funding colleges to organize conferences and scientific events, enabling researchers incubated at different areas of our country to directly contribute towards the transformation of India. IFERP simply connects engineers, exchange global innovation, and acts as a bridge between researchers and academics by organizing international conferences, world conferences, faculty development programs, webinars, seminars, providing membership and more. Some of our conferences include WCASET Malaysia, WCASET Jakarta, ICAS ETAM APU Malaysia, and many more. We've also organised scientific events in association with renowned universities done in the past, with over 28,593 journal publication services, creating opportunities to get your research paper published in high impact factor journals such as Scopus Indexed, Web of Science, Google Scholar Index journals, ESCI, UGC approved, L Compandax, ISI, Shimago Index journals, and many more. To make our operations smoother and more perfect, we have been supported by our associated organisation, Association of Cloud Technologists, Global Association of Nanotechnology, International Association for Big Data Analysts, International Association for IoT, International Wireless Network Association, and World Association for Structural Engineers. We have also worked alongside several clients and partners both nationally and internationally like University Malaysia Sabah, APU Malaysia, UNJ Jakarta, MC University Thailand, Ajman University Dubai, PUP Philippines, IIUM Malaysia, ISU Philippines, FCPC Philippines, WC University, Galgotia University, Amity University, and much more government and private organisations in different countries. At IFERP, we believe that there's always a better way to treat professionals, and that is what we do. If you would like to see more or go deeper on IFERP, you can visit our website at www.iferp.in.
Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to our webinar series on PhD end-to-end assistance and guidance. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you, Dr. Zainab? Hello, sir.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, I'm good. We have been joined here by Dr. Supriya ma'am also. Ma'am, are you online?
Yes, yes. Hello, good evening to everyone.
Good evening. Ma'am, I think your video is off.
Yes.
Yes, we can see you clear now.
Okay.
So thank you all for joining us today evening. Thank you. And welcome to all our attendees who have joined us on live webinar as well as watching live on YouTube. And today we have reached the last day of our session, where we had begun our journey on August 14th. And we were accompanied by many eminent keynote speakers from across the globe. And today we have reached to the end. And today we'll be having a panel discussion on the statistics and perspectives of PhD. And today we have been accompanied by Professor Dr. Supriya Pattanayak, who is a Vice Chancellor at Centurion University of Technology and Management, Odisha, India. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you for joining. Next, I would like to welcome and introduce Dr. Pareshkumar Chandravan, who is the founder of IP Moment, and he's the director of IP at Dishmize and Tmize. He is also the co-founder of Science Finder Association at New Delhi, India. And next, I would like to welcome and introduce to you Dr. Zainab Ajab Mohideen, who is the Senior Information Technology Officer at Center for Knowledge, Communication and Technology, University Sains, Malaysia. Thank you, all of you, for joining us today. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we know we have begun our journey on August 14th with session 1 and with many speakers, and we have discussed from the grassroots level, from the registration to how to find the PhD research topics. We discussed on proposal writing. We discussed on transitioning from coursework to doctoral capstone writing. We discussed on how to prepare a literature review. And we were also enlightened by how to identify the problems and designing and implementing our quantitative research and qualitative data analysis. We were also taught how to write a PhD thesis by also understanding the basic fundamentals such as editing and proofreading. And we were also enlightened on how to identify and defend our research methods and methodologies and the major changes in the Viva and how to address them. So we are very grateful and thankful. We are thankful to all our speakers who had joined us in this journey and who has provided with all the information. And today we have reached to the end, and today we'll be discussing on the statistics and perspectives of PhD. So we know that undertaking a PhD was generally seen as an apprenticeship, where the students learn the exchange of turning into an academician. However, the doctoral degree did not start off with that intention. The initial design of PhD was a professional degree, which gave students the permit to instruct, but in which research was not a focus of the degree until the 1800s. Then recently, the purpose of the doctorate has been under examination, and this re-examination has come about for a number of reasons, such as employment options within academia are no longer as abundant or secure as once they were. And then we know that employers have become more discerning. They are looking for specific skills and qualifications which were absent in the traditional PhD. And even the government and society are demanding a research degree that is more relevant to the needs of business and growth of economy. And universities are seeing the economic value of increasing student numbers and creating better alignments with industry. So today our panelists will be giving an overview on certain aspects, such as the scope of PhD in engineering, science, and technology and management studies, and the usual merits and demerits that they have also come across and how they have tackled it in their vast years of expertise. And we'll be also discussing about the recent trends that we have been seeing in PhD. And we'll be also discussing on the usual statements of differences between a traditional PhD and the contemporary PhD. So before we begin, I would like to request our speaker or our panelist, Dr. Supriya Pattanayak, ma'am, to address the gathering and to just tell us the importance of this discussion, why we have gathered here and why is it essential for us to discuss this on a larger platform like this?
Thank you, Gisela. I think it's this actually is very topical at this point of time to take up this discussion amongst the panel, and to inform all the participants, the young people who are pursuing their PhD, early career researchers, or who have just finished their PhDs and trying to get into academia. So this becomes very important for everybody. As you know, with when it comes to PhDs, let me put it this way: when it comes to PhDs, whichever field, whether you look at science, humanities, arts, management, whatever it is, we find, at least in India, I can't speak of everybody else, but in India, we find that we don't have very clear-cut numbers, right? So since we are talking about statistics and perspectives, so I thought it might be important to talk about some of these things. You find the numbers which are being quoted varying anywhere between 25,000 to 75,000. It's that big a difference. So that is the kind of numbers. Some of them also quote a 5-year average, which is what is the possibility of a student completing a PhD in 5 years. So this is the kind of problem that there is in terms of actually the numbers of people who are pursuing their PhD. Actually, now at all universities, with our University Grants Commission, which has made it mandatory for entry into academia to be a PhD, this becomes a very important route for a lot of young people who are trying to enter into academia. I mean, before it used to be somebody, especially in engineering, could finish a BTech and get into being a lecturer or whatever it is. But right now, unless you have a PhD, you can't even get entry into a university as an academic. What this does is, and I'm a little bit concerned, and I would like to raise this issue but it has been raised several times, is one needs to look at what is going to be the quality of PhDs in the future. Because one of the things is we need the large numbers to get into about close to 1,000 universities where we have to meet all these demands, let alone all the affiliated colleges and all those kinds of things. So you need a huge number of people to qualify in their PhDs, and we don't seem to have the kind of resources. So whether it is human resources, first of this, couple of things. One is in terms of supervisors. Where are the supervisors available? So that is a huge issue. The second is the kind of resources which are required. It's easier said than done to say that, okay, we'll produce all these PhDs who will then take over and who will continue. But where are the resources going to come from? That's a major issue. So these are the two large issues which are coming up for PhDs in the near future for India. We need to really look at these issues very carefully to ensure that the quality is maintained and we are able to provide the kind of inputs that are required. Now you will see the kind of differences which are also occurring within disciplines, between disciplines. So you will find that probably in humanities, and you will find that, okay, it's better resourced in some ways because it doesn't require that kind of resource. Whereas in science and engineering, it requires much higher resources in terms of very advanced labs and all that. So I think these are some of the issues that we need to think about. But the main issue is also, in determining, and we talked about all the sessions that have been done, but how relevant is this research to society, to industry, to all these kinds of problems which are arising now? And I think that is the critical thing that we need to look at. So is the kind of PhD which is coming up, is it actually building on the kind of critical knowledge or the critical abilities of people to actually challenge and question some of the things which are happening, and then find kind of solutions that are actually most relevant to that situation and that context. is what is required. I think the tendency is also to kind of just, borrow things straight off from the West, especially in our countries. We just borrow things without understanding what are the implications. Quite often, we still have that. The mindset of the either or, which I always keep talking about, which doesn't allow us or enable us to look at the kind of diversity that we have in our societies, in our communities. And I think that is what we need to be now looking at resolving. What is it that's relevant to our communities, our society, our kind of uh, what is it for want of a better word, what do we want to look at as our development. So I think that is what is key here. So I think with these opening remarks I'll stop, and then we can kind of pick up on top of later on.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. And next we have Dr. Zainab from Malaysia here. Hello, ma'am. Welcome. And what is your point of view on discussing this on a platform like this? Let us know how things go on in your country.
Okay, thank you. Okay, in Malaysia specifically, because I'm in from University of Science Malaysia. Okay, the demand for PhD is very high, especially among academician and also administrative staff. Okay, in Malaysia, academicians are required to have a PhD upon enrolling to academia. And then admin staffs, there is a privilege to pursue a PhD, okay, upon the field, which is regardless of any field, either engineering, science, technology, or management. We have a clear cut of application for the PhD within our universities and also our government in Malaysia. We are also offered a scholarship upon enrolling to PhD. Besides that, we have to clearly define our proposal and also our clear path on the topics of PhD within the skills that we have upon our soft skill and also hard skill. And then we need to have a good work ethics in order to pursue and also finish on time for our PhD. Okay, we are also given a lot of privileges to finish on time with awards in the university and our government sectors, and highly supported by the universities upon completing your PhD. The barrier will be the publication for the administrative staffs, because we are more to administratives, and the publication is not an easy task, especially when we are facing with WAS, ISI, and also Scopus. Okay, even though you've completed in 2.5 years, but the publication will drag you to another 1.5 years upon acknowledging the recipient of the papers. So my main concern here for the discussion here is the publication. So how are we going to overcome the publication to ease the scholars and also the academia to find to a level where we can enhance the publication to a smoother journey, and also easy way out for that it is accepted not less than a month or less, and then about our career in the academia. Okay, having a PhD in Malaysia, PhD regardless of academia, research, or industry-based PhD is a professional cert. Either you're going for scholars or DBA. So it's either which path are you going to, is all on demand in Malaysia. Currently on 2016, Malaysia has got 23,000 of PhD scholars. And by 2023, we are hoping to get around 60,000 PhD scholars, and which is highly in demand in Malaysia. And then besides that, our demand for the research hub, and also and being Malaysia's natural resources actually allow the biodiversity and great boon to be studying for the ecological, medical, and also natural sciences. Okay, we also deal with a lot of publication, and we are also having some problem in terms of database management for research database, where we are finding difficulties to get our research inputs in terms of journals and everything, because it's a bit of costly. And then we are also looking forward for a collaboration throughout the world to enhance the research KPI, and also to bring back the research in terms of qualified research which are marketable, and also our student, and also the research is valuable in Malaysia. So I think that will be the opening from our side in Malaysia.
That's good to hear. And Dr. Pareshkumar, sir, welcome.
Thank
How
you.
would,
And
how would you express your point of view to this?
so, first of all, I would like to thank IFERP and Zezilia for inviting me to this discussion. And I am also feeling honor to end panel with Supriya ma'am and Dr. Ma'am from Malaysia across the border. And today, I am not from the academic, but I have completed my PhD in 2000. And I started my PhD in 95 and I completed in 2000. And then I worked for around 5.5 years at postdoctoral position at three different laboratories. So when I was working, as a postdoctoral fellow, whenever I used to tell, any friends over here in Gujarat or other places that what I am doing, so it was very difficult to explain, what is postdoctoral fellow, because there is no word in dictionary. It will explain what is postdoctoral, and it was difficult that time. But I completed 5.5 years of extensive research, because I work 1 year in Israel, then I was work in the 3 years in United States and 1.5 in Canada. But then somehow my career path got changed, and now then I started working in the intellectual property rights fields. So since 2006, I am working in the IPR fields, and I am not directly working in research, but I am working with researchers and inventors like that. So today it is for me to end panel and to discuss regarding research in this platform. It's very different feeling, different feel, that how I can express that. But having said that, I have been passed through this research experience for around 11 years. So I totally understand that research is important. And if I start, discussion that just 2 weeks back, we have, new national education policy. And this national education policy, I have just read out some couple of points, and I feel that they are now going to stop, MPhil kind of things, and they are also going to, more emphasis on the PhD. And as ma'am said, it is now mandatory. If anyone wants to join in the academy, PhD is must. So PhD is a very good. You can say that is one of the top degree if you are entering into that. But at the same time, it has its own pros and cons also. So to new aspirants and the new researcher, they have to they have a lot of information, and they have a lot of things going on, and many are there. And they can get information that what is good for them. But this is more important, this is not only statistics. As ma'am said, quality is more important. And for quality of research and PhD scholars, it also depends on many things. So it's not only your knowledge and education, but it also depends what type of facilities you are getting, or what type of guidance and PhD guide you are getting into. So if I explain, I explain my experience that when I was doing my PhD in Gujarat, one of the CSR lab, we used to have facilities, because it was CSIR lab, so we used to get chemicals, etc. Very good, and we used to get very timely. But at the same time, I have seen my friends who used to do PhD in university. They used to get, they used to struggle to get chemicals also. So these kind of differences are there. But now I believe those kind of differences are now we are overlapping. But still some challenges are there, and we as a society or as a country, we have to overcome this, and we have to make our quality education, and then quality education will build up on quality research, and then we can get quality PhD scholars, and this is kind of cycle. So if we have good education, then we have good research, then we have good PhD scholars, and then this cycle rolls back, and then it will help to the society to build the education system very strongly. So these kind of socio-economic things, we have to focus on that. So this is my starting this one, and I would like to participate as
Yes,
discussion
sir.
is going on.
As you said, yes, PhD has become very important and trending. But at the same time, we have been, pointed out that the traditional PhD and the contemporary PhD, like, do you think that there's a difference? Like, you are a person who have taken or acquired PhD a decade ago, and now certain employers would point out that the PhD done during that time is outdated. But at the same time, you have been encouraging the students throughout many years, a decade, with the recent changes. So how do you think, like, do you think that things have changed and it is outdated, or do you majorly find difference between the traditional PhD and the contemporary PhD?
Yeah, so this is a good question. And as I said, that when we used to get for similarly, ma'am said about
Mm-hmm.
publication also. So publication, if I said, so during that time, we used to publish, in a hard copy. So we used to send those things in hard copies to the US and to the Europe, etc., for publication. And it used to take, couple of months and to receive back the feedback, etc. But now in the current situation, you can just email it and you can click it, and it will go anywhere, and you can send it your research paper to the for the publication in a journal. At the same time, similar thing is that, so earlier we used to traditional PhD, because I mostly talk about my chemistry side, because I'm in chemistry domain, so I hope the participant will understand also. Because that time, as I said, we used to get chemicals very quickly, but still it used to take time. But when I joined in United States as a postdoctoral fellow, we have seen within you make a call, and within 2 days, 3 days, you can get chemicals in your lab. So these kind of facilities are there. In the contemporary, I believe this kind of thing is also there. That today you think about something and you want to start, some experiments, and you are sure that, okay, you want to start it. Immediately you make a call, and you can get chemicals, etc., and whatever the facilities you required. And then you can right away start within a week. But earlier it used to take months and months to start whatever things you are thinking. At the same time, access of these journals, etc., access of these research papers also, this is now, it's quite easy. Because this time, we used to wait in library for hours and hours, and we used to get journals in the physical formats, and then some floppies came. And now, if any research article published, within 24 hours, it is access to anywhere, whenever, wherever you are sitting there, whether you are in India or whether you are in United States, if you are in Malaysia. But you can have access, free access of this information is also available. And once you have faster access of recent information, that will accelerate your research environment also, your research line also, your research domain also, that how you are performing your experiments. So these are the major difference, between traditional and contemporary. You will have, quick access of the information, and you have quick access of implementation of all these informations.
Okay. So you would say that basically the availability and the access to our facilities is quicker in the contemporary PhD compared to the traditional one. Dr. Zainab, how about your experience? Do you think there's a major difference between the traditional PhD and the contemporary PhD?
Okay, in my opinion, because I'm from Gen X, so we are more to techno savvy. So therefore, for us, technology is for us to get every information on tip. Okay, another key the comparison I would say is the supervisor. Okay, supervisor skill and also the quality of supervisor also determine how fast, how good the student will excel in their research. And then the knowledge gain, sharing of knowledge, and then respects. All these are the key that you need to know. You need to learn by hook or by crook before enrolling as a PhD student. Okay, getting into a research is all about research. It's actually is a human skill in terms of how you communicate with your supervisor, then how you communicate with the environment itself, and then your colleagues in order to help you out on the papers and some information needed. You have to be open-minded, and then your mindset, which is actually need to be broadened in order to accept any critiques, and also you must be able to accept what are the important keys of supervisors in order to excel fast and also to be ahead of what you are doing, and then to be on the track. And then besides that, in terms of technology, as I can see, Google Scholars and all these are very easy of accessibility. And then you must be attached to the library and the librarians. The library roles and the librarians are very important here in order to ensure the researchers get what they want in terms of informations, and then in terms of information and also a guidance, a pre-guidance to what do you call that, in terms of referencing style, thesis writing, all this. Therefore, the student must be attached to both, either the techno savvy and also the traditional. You cannot leave out the traditional way and also attach to techno savvy. Both are equally important because not all the supervisors and the lecturers are techno savvy. Therefore, we have to accept as a student of techno, we have to accept and also adapt and also adopt whatever is necessary and important for our research, and we must not criticize. I hope the student must know that we must not criticize as a student. Learn to accept and move forward, because it's all about your graduation, is all about your degree, not the supervisor's degree. Therefore, accept, because they are well versed with the field and they know how to guide you. So I hope the students, I can see some of the question asking on the relationship between student and supervisors. Okay, for me, my supervisor has been very good. She's like a mother to me. Her name is Associate Prof. Dr. Kiran Kaur. She's from University of Malaya, and she has been very, very good in terms of research, and also I complete on time, which I enrolled my PhD 2014. I completed in 2.5 years. I've just waited for publication for another 1 year. And until today, I'm still writing papers with my supervisor. Therefore, I encourage all the students make a good relationship with their supervisors, because they are everything and to ensure you graduate on time. Okay?
Yes. Yes, I hope Mr. Joshua has got his answer also. So that's an advice and an example that she has undergone. You should have a very good relationship with your supervisor, sure. And we have here Dr. Supriya, ma'am. Ma'am, what is your point of view of traditional PhD and the contemporary PhD?
So I think while I accept the views which have been already put forth, there are and notwithstanding the fact that we have to adopt to disruptive technologies, we also have to do research on disruptive technologies. But having said all that, I'm very much concerned about trying to make this distinction between contemporary and traditional. They're not two different things. Uh, as my colleague from Malaysia said, they're not two very different things. The moment you start making those differences, also, I think in countries like ours, where even though access has become much easier, there are still people who have no access. And I think that is a matter of great concern to me, who is sitting here and who is a social scientist. And to me, that's a very big concern. So the moment you start making these distinctions, you leave a large chunk of the population behind. And I think that becomes a bit of a problem always. So I think we need to be very careful how we address these issues. I think in relation to this, I would also like to add that in some ways this has bearing on what we choose to research. you know Today there are lots of people I see even in the uh, social science field who get so carried away with things like the social media, online digital marketing, I don't know, all these kinds of things, that in fact, like even yesterday I was trying to assist some of our teachers to set up a research looking at uh, how are actually tribal children accessing the online or blended education that we are giving them. Are they really accessing it? Do they have the capacity to do that? Do they have the wherewithal to do that? So all these kinds of issues, unless we get a handle on that, we would actually be doing a disservice to this whole process. And I think to the whole process of thinking, and how is it that we construct knowledge, what is it that constitutes knowledge, all these kinds of aspects which come into it. Now, that is one aspect. Now, coming to the issue of supervisor and supervisee relationship, I think that, let's face the fact that that is a relationship of power. The relationship between a supervisor and supervisee is a relationship of power. And in the past, it has been very badly misused. So I wouldn't be surprised that if it's not being done so even now. So I think what is also required, while we say that the onus is on improving the relationship better, I think the regulations within universities should be very flexible and very adaptive to accept that if a student wants to change the supervisor, we should be able to allow them to do that. And that is one of the things I have increasingly been pushing for in my own university, that it's nothing is cast in stone. We should, the moment you start doing that, then I think you're doing a disservice to the student, you are doing a disservice to the supervisor, and you're doing a disservice to the entire academia. So I think we need to build in that flexibility within the university system to enable some of these things to happen. So I think, therefore, it's absolutely critical that we look at our own regulation. What is it that we need to do in terms of governance of the institution to enable some amount of flexibility within these things? And that's my view.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. And that was quite informative as well. And I would also like to know the certain difficulties that, as you said, that we usually find from an academic perspective view as well as a scholar's perspective while the process of PhD.
So there are several kinds of issues. I think one of the biggest things, and this was a case in point, is I've seen a lot of students who suffer this because it is not a PhD as such is not a very structured program. And we should understand that a PhD is a very lonely journey. In a sense, it is you and your supervisor. It's nobody else. So it's a very, very lonely journey. I always said that. I say that even now. So in that sense, question of keeping time, as my colleague from Malaysia said right at the outset, is critical. Because often we find that they go over, they've not progressed in the manner that we like them to progress. So again, here I think it's a two-way process, because the university should also have regular progress reviews, to actually ensure that you are assessing on a regular basis how the student is progressing. Because otherwise, like I said, since it's a lonely journey, I think I'm doing well, and my supervisor thinks my supervisor very busy, so is not able to give me enough time. So then there's nobody else to go to. So when you have these regular reviews, that helps them also assess for themselves where they stand, where they need to go, and it actually supplements the supervisor's roles. So I think that's what is critical to enable students who have difficulties, and to also allow the university to keep track, because we would also like to see that the number of students who graduate increases. What we are seeing is right now it's only about 33-35% of all those who enter into PhD programs in India. So I think that again the number varies, but somewhere I saw that number, so I'm just quoting that. So if that is the case, then we need to really work hard to see that we at least reach that, as the education policy says, to reach that 50% mark. So we need to at least work hard towards ensuring that all the students who enroll into PhD programs actually graduate.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. And Dr. Zainab, what is your point of view?
Okay. Again, difficulties among academic perspective and scholars perspective. Okay, first is Dr. Supriya said is commitment. Okay, it's a major commitment, and also is a lonely journey is agreed upon. Okay, you and your journey, you determine what you want, and do not forget, prayers comes first. Okay, pray first before you move, because you wouldn't know whether you're on the right track, or what you're doing, is it true, is it aligned with your research or not. So commitment, pray, and make a move. Besides that, always keep in touch with your supervisors, either via WhatsApp or email, and then also be in good terms with your supervisors. If you're having problems with your supervisors, try to get help. Either go and see the dean or anyone who can help you out to ensure that you are on the correct path. And then besides, I can see the main problem in this research is getting the problem statement. Okay, problem statement in your research is very difficult to refine, especially if you are industry based and you are not in academia. Okay, as for me, I'm from industry, and it's very difficult for me. Was early stage. What I did, I tried to understand how this academia's mindset towards research, and how the non-academic practitioners think about research is two different perspectives, because one is theory based and one is practitioners based. Okay, you have to put your theory based first, then only you have to think on the practitioner's solution. Not all research can be put into practice, and most are just to prove the theories and contribution to the body of knowledge. Therefore, you have to justify clearly what is your journey and what is your topic all about. Try to understand your scenario. Put yourself as a researcher and think, and do not put yourself as a practitioner in order to do academia research. It doesn't work. So you have to put yourself as a researcher and think about the theory in terms of theory based and also problem statements. And it will be difficult at early stage, but as time goes by, you'll find, is this all that is needed? And you'll find, yeah, you're on the correct track. So meanwhile, just ensure that you are aligned on your track, and give yourself an opportunity to go for a conference and also for 3-minute thesis defense, symposium, and all that. Expose yourself to the maximum which you can, so that you know what are the skills that you have, and also what are the skills that you need in order to ensure that I am eligible to be granted a PhD cert. It's not all about the cert, but at the end of the day, it's the skill and the mindset that you have created within yourself, and to be a scholar and also to be a researcher by having a PhD.
Yes. And we have been seeing a recent increase in the number of PhD. I mean, there's a high demand and it's completely trending. So, Dr. Pareshkumar, I would like to ask you a question. Like, now we have made that for moving to an academic industry, PhD is necessary. But I think you had a feeling, I mean, you had earned your PhD 20 years ago. So what made you think at that time that, yes, it is important? Because I think back then in India, maybe there are people who don't even acquire their formal education, as you said, but you are a person who acquired your doctorate during that time. So what made you feel that, yes, it is very important to get your PhD?
Yeah. So before I just go ahead and give that answer, because I just share my experience, because as many researcher and PhD scholar I heard, they are saying PhD, doing PhD is a lonely journey. But personal, my experience is that, because I have done my PhD in one of the CSR lab, and what I feel that it was not lonely, but I learn a lot, how to work in a collaborative way, because I started, working with my other institute PhD friends, So whenever any problem used to come, then we friend all used to work together and try to solve that problem. So maybe it is smaller thing, but we used to learn together, like we do. Means some, some laboratory, they don't have good facility, or sometime, some vessels are not there, or some facilities are not there. At that same time, immediately you can just go to next door lab and you can just knock out, and you can say, okay, I want this one, and immediately you get the help from this one. So the way, is collaborative work. You learn, how to work collaboratively, how to get help from others. And somehow, what happened during my PhD. So my PhD supervisor has to move, from my lab to another CSR lab, because he moved from our CSMCRI lab from Bhavnagar to another lab in NCL Pune. So he said that because he got promotion, he has to take his position. So he said, Paresh, I want to leave. Whether you want to continue PhD, you can continue. And whether you want to come with me, you can come with me to NCL Pune. So that time, I decided to stay at the CSMCRI. So I work alone for 2 years. But during that time, I learn and I work, with other scientists, and I did work with some other 2-3 collaborative research and other scientists, and I also made friends of those scientists, students also. So it's kind of good experience, you can say lifetime experience one can get if they are doing PhD, and they will learn how to do patiently and how to build, when many time you get the failure, and then you learn from that failure. So from failure, you can learn, how to be patient and how to work together in a team. And many times, whatever we decide, we are wanted to do research in this way, but it did not come out in that way. So as Dr. Zainab said, because research is not that you do something, but it's like that you learn something, that how whatever results you are getting and how you are interpreting and how you are making something new out of that one. So that is why this one. And your question was related, that what is difference between then and now. Can you repeat your question?
No, so I just wanted to know, like, what made you feel the importance of PhD back then?
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. So that time, importance was, for me personally, it important was that because I immediately after master I went to one of the pharmaceutical company. So during that time I saw that uh, there were many masters, MSc graduates were there in the laboratory. But that time, during one year my work, I learned that whenever any R&D manager or any supervisor, at the higher position comes, they said that he must have the PhD degree. So that seed came into my brain, that if you want to go in higher up ladder in any industry also, you should have the PhD degree. So that was the importance of that one, because once you have PhD degree, then if in any company industry, if you want to go at the higher position, it is very easy to climb up. Because in many industries during that time I have seen that even if you work for 10, 15, 20 years, you cannot go at the top level position because you don't have that PhD degree in your hand. So once you have that degree, then you in the means directly you are eligible for the higher degree, this one. And now coming back to what I've seen, I have studied also during the last 1 year, that collaboration between industry and academic is more, and they are doing good research, and that way only the economy will flourish. Without collaboration between industry and the academics, research, R&D works, that economy won't flourish, because they should have collaboration and they should work together. Then only for any country or any country's economy, even for the students, even for the PhD scholars, it is good to have collaboration with the industry, because they get the financial support, facilities, etc., and industry get the good brain from the academic side.
That's correct. And another thing, like what I would like to know, maybe I think Dr. Supriya ma'am can answer this better. Like we have been seeing during, quite some time, we have been finding it difficult to find the right resource person or PhD mentor during this journey. So what do you think is the actual cause for finding the right person during your PhD? Is there any solution for it, ma'am? We often find this difficulty that the person is unable to find the right PhD guide. So don't you think that it will actually affect decrease the number of PhD scholars in our country?
No, I actually think there's a way to address this issue, because just the other day we had a 2-day national level vice chancellors conference on reimagining the Indian university, and this was one of the issues which came up. And so we have been debating on how to do this. For example, when you come to schools, you have, even when you come to primary level, you have some training for teachers. You have CT training, then you have B.Ed training, then you have M.Ed training. So you have some kind of training for teachers who at least get a knowledge of pedagogy, of the subject matter, everything. So it's like a package. So there, but when it comes to a higher degree, like at a university level, when a faculty enters, there's no requirement of anything. All you need to have is a PhD. But the thing is that even those people who have gone through a PhD, those who have supervised, for example, they also have had no training on what it means to supervise. how does one supervise? So that is also a very big issue. So all our faculty who have entered as PhD scholars, who then end up becoming supervisors, have no knowledge. They have not gone through a rigorous system which tells them how to supervise, or how they been supervised, which in turn they can translate into how you supervise. So this is a big gap area which is there. And I think that we as a university have always been looking at it. We have been trying to work with some of our partners to develop a program for training of people who are first time supervisors, who are early career, they're just beginning to supervise, to develop a training and say that you need to complete this in order to supervise. You see, as it is, for example, in our regulations, it was that you need to have at least post PhD 5 years experience before you can supervise. Now that, because of the numbers that we require in India, that has been reduced to saying that if you have 2 publications in an indexed journal, then you can supervise, which I think is actually reducing it to, it's being so reductionist, that how is it that 5 years post PhD experience is equivalent to two articles in a journal? So that is a big matter of great concern to all of us who are in positions, or who are trying to make policies. But we really need to have a process whereby we train people what it means to supervise, so that they actually, because the thing is that you might come in as a student to do a PhD in a particular topic. Now that need not be necessarily my area of, I know the discipline, but it's not my area of expertise. That's why you are researching it, right? But I should know how to be able to supervise you, because I am from the same discipline. So I should be able to supervise you. So that is, I think, critical, and that's a big gap that's there. And I think everybody is grappling with some of these issues as to how to address them. So we are taking a few steps. I'm sure there are a lot of universities who are doing the same.
Yes, I think even Dr. Zainab was stating the same issue. Publications have become little difficult for the PhD students. Ma'am, what is your point of view? Like recently, we have been seeing students preferring abroad for their higher education, like for acquiring their PhD. Is it because of these kind of resource difficulties and the other issues, such as Sir said, in acquiring the materials or something like that?
I think it's a whole range of things. It's not a very simple, straightforward answer. Let me put it that way. I think that, let's face it, we from the developing world are enamored by the West. We want to go there, we want to do something there. I myself have a PhD from Australia, so let me
Wow, that's amazing.
do that. So we are all enamored by that, so we do want to go there. Yes, that's I think when I went also, I was not sure, and I'll tell you why my whole comment about the lonely journey. Because here I was from India doing a PhD in social science in Australia, where when I went, there were very few Indians there even. Forget about finding a supervisor who could then supervise me. So I was essentially doing everything myself. So I thought that it was a very lonely journey. It was a very lonely journey for me, and I continue to hold that view, because I think for a lot of students it still is, because they are also trying to combine work with trying to do PhD. So it's where's the greater focus? A lot of the focus is on the work, not on your PhD. So your PhD gets relegated to the domain which is not so important, and then you come back to it every now and then. So it is become a bit of a lonely journey. So I think that is one of the things. That's why I was telling you from my perspective. But I agree with what Dr. Dave was saying, that it is true that you should be collaborating, and it happens more often in the science fields, and also engineering, where you are doing industry based, practice oriented kind of work. So there it's a lot of collaboration. But in especially in the social sciences, I think it is a little bit of a different ball game. So therefore, that's the thing. But I think so. Coming back to your question about wanting to go and do a PhD abroad, as I said, yes, a lot of people come back and say it's about resources, and it's true. The amount of resources available is amazing, because I know one of my colleagues' daughter who's doing her PhD on something called smart bandages, and they've got 60 million or something for a project like that. And we are just thinking that what if we had, funds like that? We could do
Exactly.
so many more things, than just smart bandages. But the fact is that yes, it becomes very critical to know that you'll have the kind of resources you want, and it's a very you don't have to work so hard for it. It's not that you won't get it here. You'll get the chemicals, as he said, you will get the chemicals, but you have to keep on and on pursuing, and then you'll get it later than when you should. So those kinds of issues are always there. And there is also then the difference between the public universities and the private universities. So public universities still manage to get things because they have the resources. Private universities still struggle, but sometimes private universities do better because they have greater flexibility. So there are all these issues which then also mean that it translates to what is the student experience of a PhD or even of a master's, which is why they then choose sometimes to go out, and say that, okay, I will go and do my PhD there. And then, okay, then they're looking at prospects which might be, I want to stay on there, or there are not many people who, there are now, of course, many more who are choosing to come back, but at one point it was not the case. So there are all these issues, but I think it's not a straightforward answer.
Yes, ma'am.
I
Yes,
think
of
that
course. Each
Zainab
all
said,
have their own
yeah,
point of view on preferring where to study and which
yes,
country
yes,
they would
yes,
like to.
yes.
Dr. Zainab, what would you recommend to your students?
Okay, for me, if you think you're good in work ethics, okay, why not move up the career ladder? So if you think you want to go further, enhance your career path, so go ahead and do a PhD as you think it will bring you to somewhere in terms of your credibility, integrity, and also yourself, your appearance, the way you speak is uh, is actually building yourself from top to toe. Actually, it's everything. It's not about the cert, but you learn about the culture. You learn a lot of things by going abroad. So therefore, because I did my PhD in Malaysia, because I'm married and having my kids here, and then my kids are all with me throughout my journey, and they learn a lot by knowing the quantitative and also qualitative study. So they feel like it's enjoying. I told them it's enjoying. You said, and after all, it seems like it's just a journey that you're bringing your entire family with you. If you are not lonely, as for me, my kids are my backbone. My husband and my supervisors are everything for me. So I bring them along with my journey. Wherever I'm in any thesis proposal defense or conference, I'll bring them in. And they usually give me comments. You should present this way. You should do this way. When they ask this, you should answer like this. I say, wow, it's actually a great input for me. So that actually is bringing them to a level that is actually maturing their thinking skills. So not only you are making the difference for yourself, but also your family, your kids, and also the journey that you are bringing. It's actually you're creating a roadmap for your entire family throughout the journey of your PhD. Therefore, if you are given an opportunity to do a PhD, grab and just focus on I want the knowledge. I want to be a knowledgeable person in this field, and I want to be an expert in this field so that I can contribute to the body of knowledge and also supervise my student. There is no special guidelines for the supervisor, But I can see here, uh, as a student, please listen to the supervisor, which most students thinks, uh, I know better than my supervisor. Everyone do that. I know better than the supervisor. But actually, you have to say, hey, come on, the supervisor knows better the field rather than you are saying you are better. So please kneel down and also listen to what your supervisor says. And she or he will definitely ensure that you will complete on time. And then I can see one of the question here highlighting on the publication, writing the first author, second author. Okay, there are some rules that we have to follow as a student. Some university, there are guidelines that submission must be done by the supervisors. And then some university says the first author must be the supervisor. The second author must be the student. This all depends on the university which you enroll. So therefore, accept it and also work collaboratively to ensure that you succeed in every research and also all the publication, because your supervisor will definitely get the things to be published in her own expertise way. Therefore, listen and also move. Don't feel sad that you are the second author, because she or he definitely has gone through your papers, your manuscript, and also advised you properly. And throughout the journey of correction, you have learned a lot, saying that these are the ethics of writing, these are the ways of writing that you have to know. This is how you should put your terms and words. So therefore, grab the knowledge and think, this is for better future, so that in future you will be back to your supervisor, collaborate with her again. Therefore, it's not for 2 or 3 years, but in long terms. It helps in your academia and also in your future research. So give and take in every aspect as a student and also a supervisor, because there is no proper or any roadmap for a supervisor that this is what you have to follow. We are human, therefore give and take, and you will definitely succeed one day. It's a matter of time. So for all the students out there, just be patient and follow the wave and it goes.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And we have a question here. I think Dr. Paresh sir will be the right person to answer it. Here's a question from Mr. Joshua. He says that certain PhD holders deny to follow the academician industry. Going into the teaching field, and rather they prefer the industry. So you're a person who moved on to the industrial part. So what is your opinion, sir? I mean, which is more welcoming, the industry or the academics?
Yeah. So because industry is more important, because there you have chance, to explore and to get exposed more towards latest technology and latest research area also. And again, it depends, whether you are inclined to teach, or you are inclined to do research and to do application part. Because if you go into industry, then you will do more, or like applied research you will do it. So if you are inclined towards performing applied research instead of fundamental research, then definitely you can go to industry. But again, that same question come back to you, that you said that why students they would like to go to the foreign or some other country to pursue their PhD. Because if you look at that statistics, then if you are performing PhD, and you have completed PhD in the Western world, then you have more chance to get into the industry side. So if you do your PhD in India or in any other countries, then more possibilities that you end up working in the academic side. So it depends, many things, that where you want to do PhD. And now, as I said, now all information is available. So it's not, because I have seen one student, they said that if your PhD supervisor is not giving you, research area, how you can do it. So before you go ahead and start working, you start your PhD, you should learn and you should go through all this information, that what your PhD supervisor has done earlier and what he is planning to do it. You cannot just blindly say that, okay, I am going to choose this supervisor, and then you can go to supervisor and say that, okay, what is my problem statement is that. Because if you want to pursue your PhD, you have to start from the beginning, and now you have, flourish, you have lot of information available also. So depends you have to choose your supervisor, very thorough research you have to do it, and then before going to any lab, you have to see, what is your interest. It's not like 3-4 decades earlier, you don't know what you want to do in your research also. Now while you are doing your master, even I have seen many students when they are in the bachelor's degree, they are sure, they have already defined, what they want to pursue it. So you have to make up your mind that in which area your interest is that, and you want to pursue your further career. And likewise, you choose your institute, you choose your country where you want to work, and you choose your supervisor also.
Yes,
Nowadays,
exactly.
we have many good laboratories and institutes in India also. Good professors are also in India. They have good facilities are also in India. So it's not that you have to go, abroad for pursuing your PhD, but you have choice, you have a lot of information, and you have to choose wisely. So you have to make up your mind, what you want to pursue it.
Yes. Ma'am, I would like to ask Dr. Supriya ma'am a question. Like, as a policy maker, what do you think? Where are we heading, ma'am? Are we heading in the right direction? Like, are our students going on the right path when we talk about PhD?
See, I mean, I think what was happening in the past was that only as Dr. Paresh was saying, that people were interested, and Dr. Zainab said you need that commitment, all those kinds of things before you make a choice of pursuing a PhD. When you make it a eligibility criteria, then you will have more and more people will get into it. And I don't know as to what extent the seriousness will still be there in getting into that kind of program, to the rigor and all that I've been telling you for. Because it's just, like I have to finish my PhD because I have to get into academia. So it's an eligibility criteria. So I think, it will still be a much smaller number who are there because they want to be there. So those are the kinds of people who we really have to be firmly looking at supporting. And I think at the end of the day, no matter what you say, if that is the way we decide to go, then we have to ensure that our systems gear up to meet the quality. We cannot say that there'll be those who will just be doing PhDs for the sake of doing PhDs as an eligibility criteria, and those who won't. So we have to gear up the system to ensure that a kind of, one, there's a level playing field, but also the other, that there is a certain standard to be maintained across. We have to ensure that, and I think it's going to be really important in the future as to how universities actually address this problem. Because I think no matter what, whether, and I think to the previous question, Dr. Paresh was talking about people going to industry. I think there is, again, I don't believe in this either or kind of answers that it's easier to get into industry at a higher, at a higher level if you have a PhD, or it's not, I don't think it's very clearly making those again, like, making those kind of dichotomies, is a problematic thing. So I think we need to ensure that we give the opportunities, ensure that the resources are available to all to kind of achieve a kind of standard, and also the universities to follow a certain rigor to kind of get to that standard. We can't deny the fact that we need more PhDs. We do need them. We just We just have to get there. We've been lagging behind for too long. So it's how do we enable that?
Okay, that's correct, ma'am. We have a question come up here from one of our YouTube viewer. Dr. Zainab, would you please mind answering this? It goes like this. What is the difference between part-time and regular PhD degree?
Being a part-timer, PhD degree, and a
What
full-timers.
what would you recommend?
Both are students.
Yes.
Okay. There is no specific to say that you have to do it part-time or full-time. Okay. You have to ask yourself whether you are committed, you have the grit, perseverance to face all the obstacles and what are coming through. Okay, if you are willing and you can segregate your time nicely within your job and your study and your research, therefore you can go part-time. But if you think I have to do only one thing at a time, then go for full-time. You have to know the way you do. As for me, I have preferred writing at night after performing my prayers, and during daytime, I'll disturb my supervisor most of the time. I'll either WhatsApp her 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and also I'll WhatsApp her. Anything is either she replies or she never replies, it's up to her. But I have done my task, and one day definitely she'll remember that these are the things that she have asked during the meetup. So whether you want to go part-time or full-times, it depends on the individual itself, whether you are able to bring up yourself and you're able to align yourself with research and tasks and also family. Because being a PhD, either part-time or full-time, the key tuning is commitment. If you cannot commit, then you rather go for full-time. If you can commit and segregate your time nicely with all this separation, go ahead and do nicely with your research. If you are married, you have also to give some attention to your kids. Therefore, do discuss with your kids. Ask their opinion, because nowadays the kids are smart. They can advise us. As I told you, my kids always say, you have to do this, you have to complete so that we can go holiday. So you have to complete. See, they know that there is a time, there is a schedule, there is a time frame for you to complete the task. Therefore, evaluate yourself, know yourself better, because you know your journey. You are on your journey and you will face through everything by yourself. And you will have your family as a backbone, and also see whether you are capable to do it either part-time or full-time. It's all upon you. If you can't decide, don't make others into trouble, because you have to do the decision. Okay, you decide and make sure that you can align yourself with tasks and also family. That is my major advice to those who want to decide either part-time or full-time, because PhD will bring a lot of problems. You can't manage your time. Time management is very, very important. So if you can't manage your time properly, it's very difficult for you to manage your tasks and also human. So don't put the blame on the supervisor saying that he or she not checking the work, because you are not on time. So evaluate yourself, make sure that you know what you want before you approach and take better steps which reflects that this is my style of doing and studying, because you're going to go through only once, but you're going to bring the character, the attitude, the life that you go through within 2-3 years. After PhD, you are bringing the character with you, and it will makes you to be somebody.
Yes, ma'am. Today, actually, we have received attendees from all disciplines, and luckily our panelists are also from 3 different disciplines. So I would like to know the focus, like what is the scope of PhD in your particular specialization? Like, for example, maybe Dr. Zainab, you're basically specialized in informatics and technology. So what do you think? What is the scope of PhD in your specialization?
Okay, I did my, okay, I am a bachelor degree. I did in my computer science information system. And then for the masters, I did applied maths, statistical, and also computer aided geometrical design. For my PhD, I did library information science because I've been working with the library and the library system for almost 13 years. Therefore, in my field, I would say that IoT and also multidisciplinary is highly in demand. It's either in every field you should include the technology-based research in terms of either minor in every research so that the research is valuable because in future technology is everything in terms of research and also in terms of collaborative, and you are going to include technology based evidence in order to support your research. Therefore, I would say IoT is important, and also you're going for open system, open source system for the entire application, and also highly in demand is the RFID, radio frequency identification for the library, and also for the interdisciplinary of research of including of scientometry and bibliometric. These are the fields that we collaborative with open source using the WASP viewer and a lot of technology based which support the research. Therefore, in every element of research should include either you're using either you're in engineering, science, or management. You'll be using the technology based approach. Like in management, you'll be using SPSS or partial least square path modeling, and these are the techno base that you have to support your writings, and then you have to be note and all these things. Therefore, always be upfront to the library to get the technology based approach for to ease your writing, to ensure that you finish your while you're doing the referencing styles.
Yes, ma'am. So if any students from information and technology looking forward to a PhD, then that's the advice, right, ma'am? We'll move on to Dr. Supriya, ma'am. Ma'am, you are a person who has been in this management area from a long time. So what would you recommend and advise for a student who's looking forward to a PhD in management studies? Where do we stand? I mean, what is the scope of it?
Well, first of all, I have been in academia only for 5 years. So I've also been in the industry. So I'm only 5 years old in academia. So, but having said that, I've always been in very senior policy making positions. So, which is why I think I'm able to respond to some of these questions. Now, the thing is, I think year before last, I've just published a book on positioning research. It's an edited volume which was published by Sage. And one of the things, what do you say? The title is positioning research, and the subtitle to that is paradigm shift into indigeneity and interdisciplinarity. So the idea is that, needless to say, the way to go is having interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary research. That is the main thing. That is the way to go. The other thing I always, to me, because recently I had this young man who came, and I'll just narrate this anecdote. He was just doing some research. He was trying to develop a product which is called a hollow suit, and apparently a hollow suit apparently is to get a mimic, to get a robot to mimic what you do, and eventually it becomes autonomous. So I kept asking myself that, what does this mean for society? you know so for me, the critical aspect of any research is its relevance to society. What is it that we are doing? Is it relevant or not to society as it is today and of the future? So all research, I think, also needs to be very critically aligned to the sustainable development goals, because if we don't do that, you know where we are heading with the kind of climate change that's happening, with the kinds of levels of poverty, with the levels of migration, with the levels of trafficking, and all that. If we don't have our whatever research we are doing and whatever theoretical inputs, practical inputs, if in whatever way don't address the sustainable development goals, then we are somewhere. And in fact, that is being now, if you look at, and I'm not a great proponent of ranking, but in fact, most of the ranking is also now looking at how well are universities aligned to the sustainable development goals. So I think in terms of research, whatever it is that whoever is promoting, it needs to be relevant to society, and it needs, and therefore relevant to the sustainable development goals. That's how I view it, and I kind of keep on emphasizing that in as many forums as I can.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And next, I would like to request Dr. Pareshkumar to express his point of view on the scope of PhD in your industry, sir.
Yeah. So in my industry, uh, it's very good, because as we moved, uh, towards these chemical industry based, it's more, because it's indirectly, you can say, it's related to pharmacy also. So pharmacy and drug discovery, these are very good industry. And if anyone is pursuing PhD in this line, they have more scope of this. So if I quote some number, because decade before, it used to be like that, that whenever the admission opened for the IITs and any engineering colleges, it used to fill out seats for IT and computer science, and then it used to fill for mechanical, and then at the last it used to fill the chemical engineering seats. But now the trend is reversing, because now, many times, students, they prefer to join into the chemical industry, and they wanted to become, chemical engineer, like that. So the whole scenario is changing. So I can say that, and even as ma'am said, there is also, there is a high, there is also increased demand of PhD scholars in the various other domains, like humanities and psychology, like this one also. So particularly for the chemistry and pharmaceutical, this is going to be a very good future. And as we are, as we have seen, these pandemic times, that when the drug discovery and vaccine, how this world is going to find, how they are pursuing research, etc. So if you are in that field, then definitely your demand will be more. So at the resultant, it's good to be there in any industry. If you are in chemical based or chemistry based, definitely you will have demand in future
Yes,
also.
yes. Yes, sir. As you said, like during this pandemic, what are the PhD research possibilities created by this COVID-19 pandemic?
It's other way around, whether they are means, I have asked many of my friends, and I did not get answer for this. How they are, coping up with their research. Whether they are how they are doing their research now. Because their whole laboratory is closed. So how they are doing? So still, I have my question. This one, that how they are coping up with this difficult situation when the laboratories and their physical access of these facilities like workshop, etc., is not possible. So how these researchers, they are doing it. And definitely, as Dr. Zainab is here, because IT based industry, I have seen, many students, they are coming to me, and many faculties, they are coming to me, because I am in the IP field. So they wanted to file inventions for patent, etc., and they are coming, they have some idea. But uh, I would like to quote, because they don't have, work thoroughly into that domain. They have just superficial idea, and they wanted to build something great. That's what I have seen difference between, Indian PhD scholars and the outside, America or European PhD scholars, because I have seen, when they think about any problem, they thoroughly work out it, and they think, from the tiny details they point out, and then only they pursue that PhD problem. They are not like that, immediately some problem came in mind and they just started working on it. But they try to get, each detail of whatever the problem they are going to you know answer it, and what research they wanted to pursue it. So they try to get, and they try to learn each and small aspect of their research area, and then they will go ahead and pursue their latest research, like that. So any researcher, if they wanted to do research, they have to go into detail of the research problem, and they have to learn each and every element and every aspect of, fundamental of their research. Then only they can think of applying their research. If you wanted to do research today, then you have to have, fundamental clear. Your fundamentals are must be clear there. You cannot just, do that. Okay, I have think about that. As Dr. Zainab said, if you wanted to do in IT domain some research work, you should know, about different elements of the electronics and computer science and whatever the information technology related basics. You should have learn that, and you should know very well about that. Then only you can pursue your research in that way. So in this pandemic time, still I have same question what you have, that how they are coping up and how the future will be there.
Exactly. So we have a question here. I think Dr. Supriya ma'am can answer this. Now we have a question here from Mr. Rajveer Singh. How a PhD holder with 2 years of experience can become a guide or co-guide? Ma'am, your audio is disabled.
Sorry.
Yeah.
If you're already in an academic institution, then you are eligible already. If you are not, you have to then find some way of being associated with an academic institution. So, as an adjunct faculty or some kind of a relationship that you should have, because we have, for example, at our university, a lot of industry people who are actually guides, because they bring in a different perspective. So we either a guide or a co-guide. So you can have a kind of a relationship whereby you then can become a guide. So the thing now is the eligibility criteria, as I told you earlier, the eligibility criteria is no longer 5 years post PhD. So they can already become a guide. In fact, now I think a student can, a candidate can finish their qualify their PhD and then immediately become a guide, because you need 2 publications, and those 2 publications have already done during their PhD, so they can immediately become a guide. So I find it a little strange, but sorry, that's the system. So yes, Rajveer, you can become a supervisor.
Yes, so that's a good news for Rajveer Singh. Thank you, ma'am. And we also have a questions like,
Because ma'am,
yes, sir.
so as Supriya ma'am said, they have only criteria of 2 publications. So that's why, this postdoctoral fellow thing came into picture, because in the other countries, if you are a postdoctoral fellow, then you can join as an assistant professor, and then you can go ahead for associate professor like that. Until unless you don't have experience of how to supervise the PhD students and master students, you cannot straight away started giving PhD. As some student asked question, if my supervisor is not able to give me the research problem, what should I do? Because because that time you have to be careful while choosing your supervisor, that what experience he has and what is his interest, is that whether your interest is inclined and it is in the same direction as of your supervisor is or not. If your supervisor is thinking about some other going into space, and you are thinking digging into your see, still you wanted to into earth problem, then it's a major problem while choosing your supervisor, because he wanted to fly in the space and you wanted to just go ahead and do research in mineral area. And
Yes, sir.
as I said, postdoctoral experience will help a lot after finishing the PhD, that how one can supervise the students and master students also.
Yes, and ma'am, we have another question. Is it necessary that we have to choose a guide from our university? Is it okay if we prefer from another university?
No, actually, the thing is that now it's very clear. You have to have one guide from the university where you are registered, and this is in India. So I can't say about others. I'm speaking for India. Your one guide has to be is from the university where you are registered, an internal guide as they call them. You can have others also. Second guide could be from anywhere else.
Okay.
Could be from industry, could be a retired person, anybody.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Zainab, would you mind giving us some tips to publish PhD thesis in book?
Okay, a PhD thesis, upon starting your thesis, you'll have in mind that you can come out with 2 journal papers. Okay, if you're going to publish in a book form, the PhD is already a book. Therefore, you're doing a second task, a major task to coming up with a book, and you have to do a major revamp on your thesis to come out with a book. Therefore, I encourage you to go for a journal manuscript to publish it and get it done. And if you're thinking of a book, that's why you take one portion of the PhD and do a specific topic on your PhD to form a book.
Okay, that's nice. Thank you, Dr. Zainab. And I think with this, we will come to an end of our discussion. Anything, dear panelists, that you would like to advise or give suggestions and your opinions before we wind up to our attendees who have joined us today?
Yeah, I just want to tell all the people who are aspiring and who are doing PhDs is that there's nothing to fear. PhD is a great thing, and it just means that you are choosing to get a depth of knowledge and expertise in a particular discipline or disciplines. That's what you're trying to do, and I think that's a great thing. Increasingly, I must just also say that there is a focus now on PhD in actually developing products, and I think that is another thing that we need to look at. We should be open to disruptive technologies, yes, disruptive thinking, yes, because I don't mean it in the negative sense, because in the past it was always disruptive, was always negative. Now it is actually positive. So let's look at it that way. And I think it's a great journey to go through. It's a great effort to achieve what you want to do. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for those lovely words. Dr. Parish, so what would you advise for the attendees who have joined us today from your experience journey that you have explored?
So from my experience and what ma'am said, I would like to add to this, because nowadays, this whole world is, running very fast, So if you are doing your PhD and if you want to pursue your PhD, you have to slow down. You cannot run it, You cannot adopt, shortcut. So that is my advice, One should not think of shortcut, because nowadays I know that I came across, many faculties and researchers. They wanted to file patent immediately. They wanted to publish research article in the SCI journal, etc. And I don't want to comment more, but my advice is that don't go for the shortcut. If you want to do your PhD, you should learn, patience, and then you should learn, because this is, as Dr. Zainab said, this is not your research work. It's kind of experience you are getting into, and what you are learning is your lifetime is more important into that, because you are learning many things while pursuing your PhD. You are not just working on the technical domain and one research kind of subjective area, but you are learning and you are gaining a lot of experience. So you have to think like that way. You should not define yourself that okay, you are doing into some technical domain expertise and research like that in subject manner. No, you are learning something, that how to solve problem, how to even if you have negative results,
It's a pitbull.
if you are failure, then how you are building upon your next problem solution.
No, it's not a mix. It's not a pure pitbull.
Yes, sir. Yes,
It's
sir.
not a pure pitbull. It's a mix.
Learning is never a never-ending process. We always learn each and every day something or the other. So that is always a motivation. We should be always in a spirit of learning new things, and nothing should be an obstacle for us. Dr. Zainab, before we wind up, what would you advise?
They're very, very eccentric. In fact, they've been banned by law. You cannot keep a pitbull. You cannot keep it.
And tears.
Before there's lots of people, because it's very temperamental. It attacks.
Dr. Supriya, ma'am?
So one should risk.
Okay. Yes, Dr. Zainab, you may continue.
Yeah, if you're having sleepless nights and on tears, that means you're on the right track. Okay, so don't worry, you will complete. It's a matter of time. And always remember, naysayers' liabilities are the PhD's assets. Therefore, move forward. How slow you are, just move forward. And always tell yourself, it's a matter of time and I will achieve to where I want. Think positive. Okay, all the best to all of you.
Thank you to all our speakers and our panelists who have joined us today in discussing the statistics and prospectus of PhD. And thank you to all the attendees who have joined us today in the live webinar, as well as who are watching us live on YouTube, for joining this 7-day journey and exploring each and every aspects of PhD. And we hope that we were able to help you and clearing your questions. And we thank all our speakers who have joined us from session 1 till today date. And thank you all. And if you have any questions, do write to us at webinar@iferp.in. And I would also like to thank our academic partners, United Innovators. If you're a person who's looking for PhD research assistance or guidance and research article writing or publications, thesis writing or patent filing, do approach United Innovators. We have given the link in the chat box. You may join, and they have amazing opportunity services. And thank you all. For more of upcoming events of IFERP, do follow our page on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel for more of these educational programs. And we'll be coming up soon with another set of webinar series. Till then, good day and good evening to all, and thank you to all our speakers who have joined us.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to meet you, Dr. Zainab.
Yeah, same to you. Keep in touch.
Sure.
Bye.
Sure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, co-panelists. It was lovely meeting you online.
Sure, sure. Ma'am, I will keep in touch with you offline also.
Yes, we should.
Sure.
We should. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Zainab. We'll be in touch.
Okay, sure. Okay, bye.
Bye. Bye.